I will ask you to work things out in Excel first. This is a skill that we need moving forward for graduate school, for jobs, those kinds of things. So we always want to focus in Excel and then maybe perhaps check our work in SPSS. That's what we'll do a lot in this class. So I have some sample data here, just called X, and then I think about 10 scores there. Remember, the main things we're looking at equals sum, and then open parentheses, select your data, hit enter. That has just added up all of your scores for you. The next thing you need to calculate your mean is going to be count equals count, open parentheses, select your data, hit enter. Now I'm going to do the mean by actually calculating it out. So we're going to take 60 and we're going to divide that by our n, which is 6. We can also do it with the formula equals average, open parentheses, select your data, and hopefully it's the same number, and it is there. Median equals median. So these are pretty easy to remember, right? Select your data, hit enter. Mode equals mode, open parentheses, select your data, hit enter. So we have a mean of 6, median of 6.5, mode of 8. So those are our measures of central tendency. Again, we've got variability here. So what I've done is set up a variance table. We have participant number, we have our raw scores, we have our deviation scores, and our squared deviation scores. Here we're adding those squared deviation scores to get our sum of squares so that we can plug that into our variance formula, which is sum of squares over n minus 1. You can actually set up these worksheets to use cell references so that you can select this entire thing, paste it into a new sheet right down here, change these raw scores, and everything will update for you. So here, for example, if I change this sample variance, sum of squares, we know equals, the sum of squares is in cell D13 over n. N is in cell B14 minus 1. So we know that our sample variance is 5.77 repeating. We also know down here, looking at sample variance, we know that's just the square root, we're looking at standard deviation, which is the square root of sample variance. So I could do equals SQRT, open parentheses, select my variance, hit enter. My standard deviation here is 2.4037. Of course, we would round that to 2.40. If you select this, it'll select the whole thing. Right-click, copy. I can choose a new sheet, select the same, paste. Now watch what happens as I change some of these numbers. 10, 11, 14. You can see everything shifts. It's updating all of those calculations. So you no longer have to go through and subtract every single thing, divide every single thing. The Excel sheet is doing it for you. It's updated your sum. Your count has stayed the same. It has updated your mean, updated your sum of squares divided by n over 1, which is also your variance, updated your sample standard deviation. So as you have problems that are very similar to each other, you can do this and then just, rename. So I right-clicked on the sheet, rename. You could rename it 13, for example, and then just fit this to be the same as 13. Some cases you'll have 10 scores. Maybe you need more room here. Select the row, and then go down a little bit because you want some extra space. Right click, insert. You can insert rows. Maybe you don't need those anymore. You could do the same thing, select these, right click, you can delete them. If, for example, we had 15 scores, if I select the first couple of ones so that Excel gets a sense that we're adding one each time, I can select those, get this bar, drag that down to 15. Do the same kind of thing with all of these rows. It's going to drag all of those formula down for you. So you've got all of those added. But now what you have to do, where you've summed, it's only going to 11. You can drag that down. Here it's only going to 11. You got to drag it down to 15, 16. Sum of squares, same thing. We can see that our sum of deviation scores is not 0, so something's wrong. Real quick, I can look and see that our n is not correct. We didn't select the rest of our data there, but we can just drag that down as well. Hit enter. That's essentially 0. So that's how to do some of these things in Excel. Hopefully you already knew that, but as always, if you have any questions, do send me an email.